Gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. You probably came over here from Instagram for this video, or you're one of my loyal 184 subscribers. If you're not, go ahead and subscribe now. But anyway, what we're doing today is I wanted to show you all a sneak peek into just the coolness. I feel like a proud dad. I don't know. I'm just super proud of my guys in my Gravitas Inner Circle group because, or there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is how much they actually bring to the content, right? So, one of my favorite courses, definitely the guys' favorite course so far, is the Ultimate Confidence course, and we're in the process of recording live sessions with that, which is super cool. And in these live sessions, I get input from the guys on the content and get their thoughts and questions on it live, which makes it way cooler. And I want to share a little tidbit of that with you guys that are not a part of the inner circle, just because it's cool. I want you to see the type and caliber of input and conversation that you can have from guys that are dedicated to pursuing their faith in Christ and pursuing an epic life on all fronts. It's not just a coffee and donuts morning Bible study thing that's shallow and feels sterile, okay? It's a real group engaged with real problems, sharing authentically, right? It's a high level group of guys, right? There's nobody sniffing crayons or, knuckle dragging mouth breathers. I mean, there's a little bit of that. We troll for sure, but it's just such a solid group. Honestly, I think the clip itself is just a super helpful way to reframe how you see your identity. And it's just a small piece of the module that we were recording that night. So it involves me and a couple of our inner circle guys. I know you'll enjoy the conversation, so check it out.
One thing that I was thinking of is when you're talking about these kind of exercises, I've been kind of going through different things where sometimes I just feel like pulling my hair out when I just hear all of these like, be authentic, like ground yourself, sort of like exercises. And it's like, how do I be more authentic? What does that mean? To me, that's something that I've been coming more into understanding, like why it's so important to have an identity based in Christ.
Hmm.
Because I think of even in my childhood, in my own relationship with my dad, like that's probably when I felt most comfortable and most in my body when I was like really connected to him and I knew my dad had it covered. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I had to figure stuff out and I had to like do all this. It was just like, oh, my dad is paying the bills and I can just be myself. And so for me, that's kind of how I've been trying to interpret like a lot of like anything that has to do with this sort of stuff. I'm like, the most important thing that you do is just know that like God's got it paid. Christ has covered the debt. To me, that really relieves the stress of like authenticity off of my shoulders as well.
It sounds like you're saying the identity of my father is God and God has it covered is giving you less stress and less inhibitions to just free flow and be yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's like life's not going to fall apart in the case that I'm not authentic, if that makes sense. Like I'm
Hmm.
not putting the weight of my life on my own authenticity because I
Right.
can screw stuff up too, you know?
100%. So another way to say that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like I am free to be myself because my destiny and well-being is not even in my hands and I can't really mess it up.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, we can definitely be more or less in line with it for sure. But
Right.
the more that you give up that wielding of the power of it, the more that you'll fall in line with it in kind of a paradoxical way.
Exactly. Like when I coach high performers, this is kind of a problem that they run into. Like guys that are trying to crush it at work and they got a big career they're trying to grow, or they're really, really good at school and they're just crushing it. Usually I can find some sort of a way of thinking that's like, if it is to be, it's up to me. I came from nothing. My parents came from nothing. I have to build this. If I don't do this, no one else will. And then that doesn't bode well for the grace of God because God says, hey, actually, you're just a little ant that I decided to come save and adopt into my family. And I love you, but you're not as impactful as you think. I can take care of you, no problem. Even if it doesn't look like everything's working out perfectly, I do have a plan here. And the ego hates that. But the ego has been conditioned over time with, especially with these high performers. It's like, this is the only way I can get stuff done. Like if I don't use this kind of shame-based self-flagellation drive to do everything, then it's not going to get done. It's like, well, I know that's what's been working for you so far in your life, but there's another way. And since they've never experienced the other way, it can be very hard to let that stuff go. And in the same way with what you're saying, a lot of us have lived this life of, if I don't filter everything through my thoughts and logic and make sure that it's acceptable and it's going to like serve me and make sure everything works out well, if I don't use my thoughts and logic to filter all this stuff out, then XYZ bad thing is going to happen. I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to lose resources. I'm not going to get the girl. I'm not going to get the job, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's how you've been living. But there's another way to live that says, hey, God can take care of me in spite of my mistakes. And then it lets that authentic self come out. That's why the homework last week was don't think. It's because I know you guys are still going to think, but trying not to think is going to help you remove that barrier even more.
Right. I think for me is just also not even making the center of this exercise about yourself. Because I think you also fall into a pitfall of that, of like, we're not doing this in the sense of like, we need to build ourselves up to be this in some way to be the strongest men that we can be. It's like, we should probably be doing this so we can be closer to God. And maybe those two things are the same, but at least in the way that I've been experiencing this, I find more peace from doing this, not for my own sake, if that makes sense.
Totally. That's kind of the sneaky bait and switch, isn't it? Because all my stuff ultimately does lead to identity in Christ. Like that's where it all points to. But I don't sell a course that says, get closer to God. Unfortunately, that doesn't sell the same as the ultimate confidence course. But with identity and groundedness, the more we push into those two parts of the triad, that's where the God piece really comes in. Because up to this point, talking about alignment, like we said, like, hey, the bad boy can be in alignment. Doesn't mean they're grounded in the right thing. It doesn't mean that their identity is secure. You're totally right. Like the end game of all this is, yeah, it's to be closer with God, but within that category, it's to experience God in your life more, to be more specific. But yes, that.
Yeah, I just want to speak on that a little bit as you guys are talking. I mean, Luke, you mentioned it, right? There's bad boys that are aligned with themselves. There's non-Christians aligned with themselves. And you have Christian guys that aren't aligned with themselves, right? It doesn't make sense. And so that's another thing. It's like we're not pushing God's kingdom if we're not even aligned with ourselves to be aligned with his purpose overall. So I think just as you're speaking, it kind of struck that thought for me as well. Otherwise, I mean, we're just kind of a world full of people that are aligned on the wrong thing. We can't. I mean, what are we doing?
Right. God can use anybody through their weaknesses, but for us to be aware of our weaknesses and just be like, God can use me anyway, that's probably not the right approach either. So to be more aligned will help us be more effective in whatever mission and calling God has for us. 100%. So hopefully you're seeing what I'm talking about, right? Like great conversations around great content with great men. I used to think that I had to build friends locally, and I would actually tell people, hey, you have to find like local friends. And I still believe that. I still think everybody should do that. But with the internet, you can actually make friends that are not local. And then because we have forms of travel, you can do local meetups and you can do Zoom calls and you can do challenges together as a team, even though you're not local, and it has a very local feel. And often those friendships, if they're more like-minded and connected, can better you more than a lot of your local friendships. And that was evidence to me back in December when we did our first men's retreat in Puerto Rico. It was a total blast. And the guys don't know this, but I'm actually cooking up another one for a couple months from now. So that's going to be really fun too. Anyways, if you liked that clip, I want you to go down below. I have a link for you, and that link will help you join the free tier of my Gravitas men's community, which the free tier is still goated, has a ton of stuff that's really cool. And one of the things that I opened up for that free tier is that Ultimate Confidence course, which you were just listening to. The whole first module is completely free. You'll join the free Gravitas men's community. You'll be able to connect with all the guys you heard in there, plus more. And you'll see the Ultimate Confidence course being built, and you'll see that first module is available to watch for free right now. So if you're interested in learning more about the Ultimate Confidence course and want a free sampler that's going to help you change your life, definitely click that link below. And thanks for watching. See you soon.